Ladies, what is going on with your money? 3 specific questions for you today. Do you have investments? Do you know what your wealth building options are at work? Do you know how the stock market works? Hey, I'm Katie, and I can help you with your money. If you need a plan, if you need a budget, if you don't know where to start with investing, DM me or email katihyershow@gmail.com because I have a few slots open for coaching and I want to help guide you to being a rock star with money. Now, back to my nosy questions at the beginning. Investing, wealth building, and the stock market? Whoa, full stop. These are personal questions. I ask these nosy questions because check this craziness out. We all know that women make, on average, 82 cents for every $1 that a man makes. Grammar, words. We can debate the why of the wealth gap, but the numbers are there. The numbers don't lie. We make less. And if you look at investing stats, young women are half as likely as young men to even have investing accounts. InvestmentExecutive.com found that women's savings goals are half as ambitious as men's, and just 7% of women say they're knowledgeable about investing. But a quarter of men said they're experts. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Where did the phrase fine and dandy come from anyway? That's another podcast. Get this, women live longer than men. What does that have to do with investing? Well, track with me here. Here's the problem. We're paid less, we invest less, and we invest later, and then we live longer, therefore we need more money. Rock, hard place. I am on a crusade to end the toxic money culture that brainwashes us into thinking that we need to spend everything we make on credit cards, being on totally different pages with our spouses, suffering from anxiety of money mistakes or money shame or the self-imposed poverty of student loans or not having a shred of margin in our lives. It all makes me crazy. And in today's episode, I want to give you confidence as an investor. Tribe question, interruption. But wait, Katie, isn't investing for the super wealthy? This is the kind of stuff millionaires do, and millionaire I am not yet. Aha, good question. This is a chicken before the egg question. You become a millionaire by investing. You don't invest once you have $1 million. It's the other way around. Oh, I did it again. I said one of the bad words. Normally I say the B word, budget. Now I'm saying the M word, millionaire. Millionaire, $1 million. That's a bit gutsy, isn't it? Who needs $1 million anyway? That's greed. Okay, did I just hit on something right there? Did I just touch a nerve? There's something to this. Why do we equate wealth with greed? We see this equation, this linkage everywhere, right? In Hollywood, think about Cruella de Vil. She's wealthy, she wears furs, she's a puppy killer. There's The Boss and the Devil Wears Prada. I've shared those 2 examples before. Let's see, what are some others? In Disney's Aladdin, who's the hero? Oh, the poor penniless street rat. In Toy Story 2, who's the bad guy? The businessman who wants to collect the toys and sell them for profit. There's another bad word. P. P is for profit. Speaking of profit, what does that mean? Have you ever thought of what a profit is? In business words, if you have a business and you sell something or you make something, once you pay all your bills, you pay all the things you have to pay, like rent for your warehouse or your car gas if you're a delivery service, or the wages for the people on your team, the actual cost of the goods you sell, whatever it is, all those necessary costs. You take those out, and then whatever you have left over, that's profit. But if you look back to the etymology of the word profit, when you go back into the Latin, profeticatus or whatever, I don't speak Latin yet, you find that the etymology, the birth of the word profit is benefit, spiritual benefit, advantage. And you may or may not know this, but I used to live in France and I speak a little French, and the French say all the time, profiter, which looks like profite-y, profit easy, profitez bien, or profite-toi, profite. And that means enjoy. So the Latin root is advantage, benefit, spiritual benefit, also increase, success, progress. And in French, a current phrase said today is profitez bien, meaning enjoy. Those are interesting thoughts. So to enjoy the fruits of one's labor, enjoy the benefit or advantage you brought other people. Is that how we're supposed to think about profit? That's how I think about profit. Okay, but am I just making this stuff up? Is this even biblical? I mean, churchgoers and heathens all alike, we all know that scripture that says money, it's the root of all evil. Insert some kind of fancy video editing right here. Caught you red-handed. That, my friends, dun dun dun, that is mythology. The scriptures do not say money is the root of all evil. They say the love of money is the root of all evil. And if you go back to the very earliest scriptures, when Moses walked the earth and when Moses was talking with God about, okay, well, who are our people and what are our laws going to be? God says over and over to Moses, I am a jealous God. I don't want you making any other idols. I don't want you worshiping anybody else but me. And we hear talk of loving something else all through scripture, Old and Jesus, right? And so here, the love of money, this is an idol worship thing. This is, are you making money a god? That is a bad, toxic place, and we don't want to be there. But that is very different from investing your money wisely, enjoying a profit, building wealth, being generous. Those are two totally different things. But again, can we find a woman in the Bible who is a good teacher for us when it comes to figuring out stuff like the stock market? Let's look at Proverbs 31. If you've been listening along or watching along, you know that I like to look at this ideal woman, this queen, for an example for us to learn from. What does she have to say? Proverbs 31:18 says, she sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. Ha ha! This chick is an investor. We have an example in the Bible of this ideal queen being an investor, seeing that her trading is profitable. Why is there such a huge disparity between women's wealth and men's wealth? Why is there a disparity between investing for women and investing for men? I want to show you something. If you're listening along, I will describe. I have in my left hand a high-heeled shoe, and in my right hand I have a cheap Walmart hot glue gun. And this pair of seemingly unrelated items was for me a representation of the shame and anxiety I felt around money. That is because we owed $100,000 in student loans, actually $154,000 in totally unnecessary student loans. We got scholarships, we worked, we got grants, our parents helped. They were just available to us and we did not think. So we lived off of student loans. We borrowed up to our necks and we did not have a plan. So as a result, my kids had to pay the consequences no vacations, used clothes. They didn't get to go out. They've never been to Disney. All of these things because of the mistakes my husband and I made with money. So when I would go to work, and I work in the corporate world, I needed nice shoes, but I could not afford nice shoes. So I would do my best to make up nice shoes. So I would take my old shoes, and once the little tip fell off the heel, I would just super glue that puppy back on. When the sole fell out, I would super glue it back together. When the skies got scuffed, I'd take my black Sharpie and Sharpie it back black, to the point where I was wearing falling apart shoes, but I had nothing left over after we paid our student loan minimums, so new shoes weren't an option. We'd go to the thrift stores, and for us, the conversation around thrift stores wasn't, what can you get at a thrift store that you can get cheaper than at a regular big box office store? Our questions were, which thrift store is actually the cheapest? Is it worth me driving this far for this much gas money to save 75 cents? Okay, let me see, how many children can I clothe if I go to this store on this coupon day and this store on that coupon day? And I would buy $2 shoes, because you could get cheap shoes, and then there's this one thrift store that I love, and you could get shoes for $2 Tuesday. And so it didn't matter if I could fit in that shoe. It didn't matter if it was a little too tight or a little too big. If it was $2, that's all I had, and I needed new shoes. So I would buy them and force my feet in them or pad them to make them work. And I was always so nervous, telltale heart nervous, that someone was going to find out and someone was going to say, did you glue your shoes together this morning before you got in the car and came to work? And I was going to say, yes, and I Sharpied them too. I was so embarrassed, y'all. Okay, I have seen that shame play out, that anxiety, that embarrassment. I have seen that baggage carried around by so many other women when it comes to money. I hear women say, I can't believe it. I'm 45, I'm 55, and I've never invested in anything. How am I ever going to be able to retire? I've heard them say, my husband manages everything. I have no idea how much we make. I've heard them say, oh my gosh, I'm telling my kids to save, but I'm over here maxed out on credit cards and I feel like a hypocrite. I have heard it all, y'all. There is definitely some kind of disconnect between what we believe about money and what we believe about ourselves and how that shows up in real life. And here's what I mean. We know that there's all these studies about the wealth gap, right? The wealth gap is a term reporters or economists or researchers use to describe the difference between what men earn for doing job A and what women earn for doing job A, right? The same job, the same education. You can try to equalize all the things, and theorists say, okay, there's a wealth gap because of gender for some reason. And I'm not trying to say it's one thing or another politically. I'm just bringing this up as an example. The wealth gap grows widest in the South, right? The difference between what women make and what men make in the southern states is biggest. And that gap shrinks the most in New England and in the Northeast and in the Pacific Northwest, right? The gap between the differences in income that men and women make are smallest in those two northeastern and northwestern parts of the United States. Now check this out. What is the difference? What is the why? I stumbled upon this study that was just fascinating and opened my eyes. It made me wonder. If you take these stats and you look at them by themselves, you might draw the conclusion that, okay, well, clearly it's employers in these different geographic regions are paying differently. Or maybe it's work skills in these different regions are different, or maybe educational attainment in these different geographic regions can explain it. And that is what is at the cause of the differences between the wealth gap in the South versus in those northern coastal areas. But if you take a woman who was born and raised in the South and you stick her in New England or in the Pacific Northwest, does she all of a sudden earn more? Does the wealth gap shrink for her? It doesn't. The wealth gap goes with her. Oh my gosh. You know what this reminded me of? In 2013, a few years ago, the soap maker Dove did an ad campaign called something like Real Beauty. You might remember this. Women were asked to come sit down in front of a FBI sketch artist and describe themselves. They can't see what the sketch artist is drawing, but they're describing their features, and the sketch artist is drawing this person behind a screen so they can't see each other. And then at the end, they get their pictures, and they can see these tired, haggard, just exhausted, maybe overweight, or maybe lean, and just unhappy, deflated pictures of themselves. And then a real picture of these same women is given to a stranger, and that stranger is asked to describe to the sketch artist what they see in the picture. And they say, well, she's smiling, she's confident, she's got these beautiful eyebrows, and look at her curly hair, and look at her dark skin, and look at her beautiful nose, and she's got these thick lips, or she's got these beautiful thin eyes or eyelashes, or whatever it is, right? They describe them from their external point of view, not knowing the baggage carried, right? So that doesn't get translated to the sketch artist. And then they compare the pictures side by side, and it makes you sob. It makes you cry because you can see the woman doesn't see herself as beautiful. Perfect Stranger does. Real Beauty. Well, that is what came to mind when I'm doing this research about women investors. The wealth gap follows a woman who is from a place where the wealth gap is worst, even when she goes to a place where and works in the workforce where the wealth gap is smallest. So what's the difference? Does she not believe in herself? That's what we talked about just an episode ago with Nicole Beck-Januario of The Zebra, who was telling us how to negotiate for a new raise or how to negotiate for for promotion, because so few women feel confident asking for a raise. Is it because we don't believe in ourselves? We don't apply for jobs until we know we're, on average, qualified to do twice the work. We've got 10 times the years necessary for this work. Okay, maybe we'll apply then. Whereas, I'm not making this up. Studies show that men don't even have to know how to do half the stuff described in the job, and they're gonna apply for it. They're not qualified. They're gonna apply for it anyway. They're gonna negotiate as soon as they get to the table, and they're gonna ask for a raise within 6 months. Women, on the other hand, average. Don't get mad at me if this is not you specifically. Women, on the other hand, we don't apply until we're twice as qualified as necessary. We don't negotiate on average at the table. In fact, 68% of women never negotiate in their entire careers. And then we wonder, what's going on? Why is there a wealth gap? And I just think, if you don't believe in yourself, let's start there. It's time for you to start believing in yourself. I believe in you. The God of the universe believes in you. He gave you special talents, special skills, special perspectives that only you have and only you can bring. Remember Kim Moore in her interview about, can I even get a job during the pandemic? Is it possible to pivot careers when my industry has gone up in flames? Sorry, hospitality. She said she's been the first woman and the first African American in most of the rooms she walked into when she was the CEO of Workforce Plus. And guess what? Every single time she saw that as a strength, not a weakness. She had something only she could bring to the table. So grab that confidence. It's okay to not know about investing. It's okay to not know about the stock market. By the way, the stock market, I'm going to get into that next episode. I was planning on doing that this episode, but if you have questions about investing, they've been piling in, send them to me. I'm going to make understanding the stock market easy for you, enjoyable too, so you can be more confident about investing. But let me just first start with believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. You can do it. I'll help you. Hope this has been helpful to you. My last thing is, ladies, what's going on with your money?